There's a quiet truth that lives beneath all the noise of this world, and most of us forget it the moment we arrive here. We spend our lives believing we are separate individuals, walking around like isolated islands, desperately trying to find our way back to some sense of wholeness. We think we have to fight for balance, earn peace, or somehow fix ourselves before we can feel complete. But what if I told you you've never been broken? What if the harmony you've been searching for has been here all along? Not as something to achieve, but as what you already are. You see, you are not a wave fighting to become wet. You are the ocean itself, simply exploring the experience of being a single wave for a little while. Throughout your life, you've had glimpses of this truth, haven't you? Moments that felt almost magical, when the right person appeared at exactly the right time, when a door opened just as another closed, when life seemed to line up so perfectly that it took your breath away, and maybe you brushed it off as coincidence, or luck, or a happy accident. But deep down, a part of you knew there was more to it. Those moments weren't random. They were signs of coherence, a deep, natural synchronization between you and the universe. In those brief flashes, everything within you and around you was in alignment, flowing together like a symphony without a conductor. But here's the thing, most of the time, we don't see it. Instead, we try to control it. We push, we pull, we force, thinking that if we just try harder, we can create harmony through sheer willpower. And in doing so, we actually move further away from it. It's like standing in a river, thrashing against the current, exhausting yourself to swim upstream, when all along, the river was already carrying you exactly where you needed to go. Today, I'm not here to teach you another technique or give you a list of steps to follow. I'm here to remind you of something you've always known. Even if you've forgotten you are the harmony you've been seeking, take a moment and breathe that in. The universe isn't outside of you, deciding when or if to bless you. You and the universe are one continuous field of energy and consciousness. Every time you felt that deep click, that moment when everything just works, that was you momentarily seeing through the illusion of separation. The truth is, you don't need to get coherence. You don't need to create it. You don't even need to deserve it. You simply need to remember it. And remembering isn't about doing more. It's about allowing more, like a fog lifting to reveal a landscape that was always there. When you stop trying to fix yourself, you begin to see that nothing was ever truly broken. This remembering is gentle. It doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It comes in quiet realizations, in soft moments of clarity, when you stop fighting and finally let yourself be carried by life instead of constantly steering it. Have you noticed those rare moments when you completely let go, maybe while watching a sunset, or holding someone you love, or losing yourself in laughter and for just a heartbeat? There was no you and the world. There was only one seamless experience of being alive. That is coherence. That is who you are beneath all the layers of striving and struggling. The journey isn't about becoming something new. It's about peeling away what was never truly you in the first place, the stories, the fears, the endless expectations. When you stop trying to achieve harmony and simply recognize it, everything changes. Life begins to respond differently. The right people, opportunities, and experiences start showing up, not because you finally figured out the perfect manifestation technique, but because you've stepped back into your natural state, the same state that was guiding those synchronicities all along. So today, I invite you to stop chasing. Stop swimming upstream. Let the river carry you. You don't need to fight for alignment or battle for peace. Just breathe, trust, and remember that you are, and have always been, the very harmony you've been seeking. As you sit here, listening to these words, know this: the universe isn't something separate that you have to convince or control. It is you. It has always been you. And the more you relax into that truth, the more you'll see life arrange itself around you, like a perfectly timed dance, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. You are coherence. You are the river. You are the song that life has been playing all along. And now, it's time to remember the melody. 1. Coherence is your natural state, nothing to chase. There comes a point in life when you realize that all the running, all the striving, all the endless fixing and improving was never truly necessary. We grow up being told that we must earn our way back to wholeness, that we have to work hard to become worthy, to become right. And so, we spend years trying to mold ourselves into the perfect shape, to align our thoughts, to control our emotions, to be the person we believe we are supposed to be. But what if you never had to do any of that? What if harmony was never something you had to reach for because it's what you've always been? Coherence isn't a prize waiting at the finish line. It's not a technique, a mindset, or a ritual you can master. It is your natural state of being the quiet, steady pulse beneath all the noise of life. Like a wave, doesn't have to struggle to become wet. You don't have to struggle to be in harmony. The wave already carries the ocean within it. And you, in every moment, already carry the wholeness of the universe within you. The trouble begins when we forget this simple truth. We start to believe the stories we've been told that we are incomplete, broken, or somehow separate from life itself. And from that belief comes striving. We try to fix what was never broken, to chase what was never lost. It's like standing in front of a mirror, seeing a smudge on the reflection, and trying to wipe the mirror itself clean, forgetting that the smudge was only ever on the surface, never on the true image. I've lived this cycle myself. I know what it feels like to wake up every day believing that if I just tried a little harder, pushed a little further, or held on a little tighter, I could finally get there. But the more I pushed, the further away peace seemed to slip. No matter how many books I read or techniques I practiced, there was always this quiet ache inside that whispered, something is still missing. One day, I stopped, not because I had figured it all out, but because I was simply too tired to keep going in circles. In that stillness, I began to notice something I had never seen before. Beneath the thoughts, beneath the fears, beneath the endless doing, there was a calm, unshaken presence. It was soft, steady, and whole. That presence wasn't judging me. It wasn't asking me to change or improve. It simply was. And the more I rested in it, the more I understood this is coherence. This is what I've been all along. It felt like realizing that the home I'd been searching for my entire life was the very ground beneath my feet. The truth is, coherence doesn't need to be created, only recognized. It's like sunlight hidden by clouds. The sun never stops shining, but the storm convinces you that it's gone. You don't have to force the sun to return. You simply have to wait, breathe, and allow the clouds to pass. When you stop fighting yourself, when you stop trying to fix every part of who you are, something remarkable happens. You begin to see that every part of you has always been moving in perfect rhythm with life. Even the messy parts, even the moments of confusion or pain, they were never signs of failure. They were chapters of a story that was always unfolding in harmony. Even when you couldn't see it yet, think of a symphony. If you were to listen to just one instrument, isolated and out of context, it might sound chaotic or incomplete. But when you step back and hear the entire orchestra, you realize every note has its place. Every pause has meaning. Your life is like that. Every experience, the joy, the heartbreak, the quiet mornings, the sleepless nights, they are all part of a vast, intricate music that your soul has been playing all along. The challenge isn't to control the music or rewrite it. The challenge is to finally listen, to trust that even when you don't understand the melody, it is still beautiful. This is why true healing never comes from force or resistance. It comes from softening, from allowing, from leaning back into the truth that nothing was ever separate from the whole. And when you rest in this understanding, you begin to see your life differently. The moments that once felt like battles to win now reveal themselves as gifts to open. The people you once thought were obstacles become teachers. The mistakes you carried like heavy stones turn into stepping stones, leading you home. There is a profound freedom in knowing you don't have to chase coherence. You don't have to constantly manage your thoughts, perfect your emotions, or rearrange your life to make it right. You can simply be, breathe, allow, like a river flowing effortlessly toward the sea. You can let life carry you. You don't need to control the current. You only need to stop thrashing against it. And as you do, something incredible begins to unfold. The harmony you were seeking appears not because you created it, but because you finally stopped covering it up. You start to notice synchronicities, little miracles, moments of perfect timing. You feel lighter, softer, more at home in your own skin. This is coherence, not as a concept, not as a goal, but as the living truth of who you are. So, if you're tired of running, of fixing, of striving, let this be your reminder. You are not broken. You are not separate. You are the harmony you've been longing for. And when you stop searching, you will finally see what has been here all along. Life, flowing perfectly, through you and as you. In every breath, every moment, every beat of your heart. 2. The journey of dissolution and rebirth. There comes a time in every life when the ground beneath your feet gives way. The structures you've built, beliefs, habits, roles you've played, begin to crack and crumble. At first, it feels like something has gone terribly wrong. You may look around and think, why is everything falling apart? What did I do to deserve this? But what if this breaking apart wasn't a punishment? What if it was an invitation? I often think of the caterpillar. It spends its days crawling along branches, completely unaware of the wings hidden within its destiny. Then one day, it feels an undeniable pull to build a cocoon. And inside that dark, silent space, it doesn't simply grow wings. It dissolves completely. Everything it once was melts away. The caterpillar must cease to exist, as it knows itself, before it can be reborn as a butterfly. That stage of dissolution is terrifying because it feels like death. The caterpillar has no proof of what comes next. It can't peek ahead to see the freedom that awaits. It can only surrender to the unknown, trusting something larger than itself. And you, too, will have seasons like this. Moments when life strips away what is familiar, leaving you in a space of raw uncertainty. The career you built collapses. A relationship ends. A belief you clung to no longer fits. Or maybe it's something quieter, a sense that the life you've been living no longer feels like your own. In these moments, it's natural to panic, to fight, to grasp at the pieces as they fall. But here's the truth I've come to understand. Through my own seasons of darkness, the breaking isn't failure. It's preparation. When the old structures dissolve, they create space for something far greater to emerge. It's not about punishment. It's about making room for the deeper truth of who you are. I know this is hard to hear when you're standing in the rubble of what once felt solid. When I went through my own unraveling, I remember feeling like I was losing everything. My sense of self, my identity, even my connection to life itself. There were nights I lay awake wondering if I'd ever find my way back. But slowly, through the silence and the stillness, something began to shift. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't happen overnight. It felt more like a whisper than a roar. I began to realize that the part of me that was falling apart wasn't the real me. It was the false self, the collection of masks and stories I'd built to survive in a world that asked me to be smaller than I truly am. And as those masks dissolved, I started to feel lighter. Not because life was suddenly easy, but because I no longer needed to hold up an image of who I thought I was supposed to be. This is the paradox of dissolution. The very thing you fear losing is what's been holding you back. The old patterns, though familiar, were cages, and as painful as it is to watch them crumble, their destruction is the doorway to freedom. Think of a forest fire. At first glance, it seems like devastation, trees reduced to ash, animals fleeing, silence filling the space where life once thrived. But what looks like an ending is actually a beginning. Beneath the surface, the fire clears away the debris, making room for new growth. In time, the forest returns, more vibrant and alive than before. Your own breakdowns are like that fire. They burn away what no longer serves you, creating fertile ground for the truth of your being to take root. But here's what's important to remember. You can't rush this process. Just as the caterpillar cannot force its wings to grow, you cannot force your rebirth. You must allow yourself to fully be in the cocoon in the darkness, the unknowing, the space between who you were and who you are becoming. This is the hardest part, because our minds crave certainty. We want to skip over the discomfort, to leap straight from the falling apart to the flying free. But there's wisdom in the waiting. It is in this stillness that your deeper self begins to weave its wings. When you surrender to the dissolution, you begin to see that nothing was truly lost. The essence of you, the awareness behind the thoughts, the quiet observer behind the chaos, remains untouched. What falls away are only the illusions, and when the time is right, you will emerge, not as the person you were before, patched up and polished, but as something entirely new, integrated, whole, not because you became someone different, but because you finally remembered who you've been all along. Looking back on my own journey, I can see now that every loss was a gift in disguise. Every ending was a beginning dressed in unfamiliar clothing, and every moment of darkness was a passageway to a deeper light. So if you are in the cocoon right now, if everything feels like it's dissolving, take heart. This is not the end of your story. It is the sacred, necessary pause before the rebirth. You are not being destroyed. You are being remade. And one day, you will look back on this time and realize that the darkness was never your enemy. It was the very womb that gave birth to your wings. When you rise, you will rise not in fragments, but in fullness. And you will know, beyond all doubt, that the collapse was never a sign of failure. It was life's most loving way of preparing you to soar. 3. The difference between technique and recognition. There was a time when I thought the right technique would save me. I believed that if I just found the perfect practice, the perfect meditation, the perfect affirmation, then everything would finally come together. I would finally feel whole. I would finally be free. And so, like many of us do, I tried it all. Visualization boards filled with pictures of the life I thought I wanted. Journals full of affirmations, written and repeated over and over. Hours spent meditating, striving to quiet my mind and raise my vibration. There were moments when these practices seemed to work. A fleeting sense of peace, a glimpse of alignment, a small victory that felt like proof I was on the right path. But underneath it all, something felt hollow. The results were inconsistent. The calm never lasted. The struggle always returned. At first, I blamed myself. I thought, maybe I'm not visualizing hard enough. Maybe my affirmations aren't strong enough. Maybe I need to try harder. But the harder I tried, the more resistance I felt. It was like trying to push a river upstream with my bare hands. It wasn't until I reached a point of exhaustion that I finally began to see what was really happening. These techniques weren't truly bringing me closer to wholeness. In fact, they were quietly reinforcing the very illusion that had caused my suffering in the first place. The illusion that I was separate, incomplete, and needed to fix myself. When you use techniques as a way to reach for something outside of yourself, you are, without realizing it, telling yourself a very powerful story. I am not enough as I am. Every visualization, Every affirmation, every attempt to raise your vibration carries with it the unspoken belief that there is a better, the more perfect version of you somewhere out there, and you must struggle to become it. But here's the truth that changed everything for me. Coherence isn't something you create, it's something you recognize. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You see a smudge on your reflection, and you panic. You start scrubbing the mirror furiously, hoping to fix what you see, but the smudge was never on you. It was always just on the glass. This is what happens when we use techniques to fix ourselves. We are endlessly scrubbing at the surface, never realizing that beneath the smudge, we have always been whole. When you're constantly trying to assemble your thoughts, emotions, and actions into alignment, you are like someone trying to glue together pieces of a puzzle without realizing the puzzle was never broken in the first place. True coherence arises naturally when you stop trying to become and instead begin to remember who you already are. It's like the sky. The sky doesn't need to fight to clear the clouds. It doesn't need to prove its vastness. The clouds may obscure it for a time, but the sky remains untouched. Your true nature is like that sky vast, unchanging, infinite. The thoughts and fears that pass through your mind are the clouds. Technique, at best, are like tools that help you watch the clouds for a while. But if you mistake the tool for the truth, you'll spend your life endlessly chasing better clouds instead of resting in the awareness of the sky itself. When I finally understood this, a profound shift happened. I stopped using my practices as a way to fix myself. I stopped treating spiritual work like a ladder I had to climb to reach some higher version of me. Instead, I began to simply notice. I sat in silence, not to achieve peace, but to witness the peace that was already here. I breathed, not to control my energy, but to feel the life that had been breathing me all along. And slowly, a different kind of freedom emerged. It wasn't dramatic or showy. It didn't come with fireworks or sudden enlightenment. It felt more like a soft sigh, like a long-held tension, finally releasing. The constant voice in my head saying, "You need to try harder," began to fade. And in its place, there was simply presence. I realized that every attempt to align myself had been built on a misunderstanding, the belief that there were separate parts of me that needed to be brought together. But what if there are no separate parts? What if the you that is striving and the you that is resisting are both expressions of the same field of consciousness? When this truth lands, something incredible happens. The struggle dissolves. There's nothing left to fix, because you see there was never anything broken. It's like trying to fix a dream while you're still asleep. In the dream, the problems seem real, urgent, overwhelming. But the moment you wake up, you realize that none of it ever needed to be solved because it was all part of the dream itself. Recognition is that awakening. It doesn't change the dream. It changes your relationship to it. This doesn't mean you stop taking action or caring about your life. It simply means you act from a place of wholeness rather than lack. Your choices are no longer desperate attempts to become enough. They are natural expressions of the completeness you already are. The irony is, when you stop chasing alignment, true coherence begins to reveal itself effortlessly. It's not something you force into being. It's something that rises up, like the sun emerging from behind the clouds, inevitable, undeniable, and entirely natural. So, if you've been exhausting yourself with techniques, if you've been running in circles trying to get it right, I invite you to pause. Take a deep breath. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the life moving through you. And remember, you don't have to become anything. You already are everything you've been seeking. Coherence isn't waiting at the end of the path. It's here. It's now. It's you. 4. When you realize you are quantum coherence, there comes a moment, quiet and almost unnoticeable at first, when everything shifts. It doesn't arrive with thunder or lightning. It comes softly, like the first light of dawn, creeping across a darkened room. In that moment, You recognize something that changes the way you see yourself and the entire world around you. You are not separate from the flow of life. You are not just a drop of water, struggling to find the ocean. You are the ocean appearing as a drop for a while. When this realization settles into your bones, the weight you've been carrying begins to dissolve. The effort, the constant pushing, the endless strategies to make things happen, they all start to feel unnecessary, like a bad dream fading in the morning light. And then, something remarkable happens. All the walls you thought were so real and simply vanish. Time, which once felt rigid and unforgiving, begins to soften. You notice how certain days stretch endlessly, giving you space to rest or create, while others pass in a blur, like a single breath. It's as though time itself has started to dance with you, bending and shifting to match your energy rather than confining you. I've seen this in my own life. There were moments when I needed more time to finish a project, to heal, to gather my strength. And somehow, without me forcing anything, doors opened, appointments were delayed, unexpected help arrived, or an entire situation rearranged itself as if the universe had whispered, "Don't worry, I've got this." What once seemed like coincidence begins to feel like a natural response from the world around you. You stop trying to control the timing of things because you can finally trust the rhythm that life has been keeping all along. And it's not just time that shifts. Space begins to feel fluid too. Opportunities appear where you thought there were none. Solutions arrive seemingly out of nowhere. People cross your path at the exact moment you need them most. This isn't magic or luck. It's the natural intelligence of the universe flowing through you, because you are no longer blocking it with resistance. Think of it like a garden hose. When it's twisted and kinked, the water struggles to move through, sputtering and stopping. But the moment you untangle it, the water flows freely and easily. Your life works the same way. The water was always there. The flow of ideas, opportunities, relationships, and abundance. It wasn't missing. It was simply blocked by the knots of fear, control, and self-doubt. When you realize you are quantum coherence itself, the knots release. And suddenly, everything moves with a grace you couldn't have imagined before. Ideas no longer feel forced or manufactured. They arrive in quiet moments while you're walking, cooking, or staring out the window, fully formed, ready to be expressed. It's as if they were waiting for you, hovering just outside your awareness, until you became still enough to receive them. And people begin to respond differently to you. They may not even understand why. There's a calmness, a steady presence that radiates from you, like the warmth of a fire on a cold night, without you saying a word. Others feel more at ease in your company. They open up, they soften, they heal, not because you fix them, but because your coherence reminds them of their own. I remember a time when a friend told me, "I don't know what it is about being around you lately, but I feel calmer, like my mind slows down when we talk." That's when I realized this is what happens when you live from your natural state. Your very presence becomes medicine, not because you try to heal anyone, but because you embody the wholeness that they deign to carry inside. Even your physical body begins to respond. Health starts to feel less like a battle to be fought, and more like a natural unfolding. Your body knows how to heal, how to balance, how to thrive, but it needs coherence to do so. When you stop living in constant stress and separation, the body relaxes, and energy flows freely again. And yes, abundance shifts as well. Money, opportunities, resources, they stop feeling like something you must chase. Instead, they come to you naturally, like water flowing downhill. You no longer operate from scarcity, because you understand, deep down, that you are connected to the infinite source from which all things arise. And perhaps most beautiful of all, your relationships transform, connections deepen. Not because you're trying to be someone different, but because you finally see others as they truly are mirrors of yourself. Conflict loses its edge. Conversations open up in ways you never expected. Love stops being an effort and becomes the most natural thing in the world. None of this is a miracle in the way we usually think of miracles. It's not a rare event granted to a lucky few. It's simply how the universe works when you stop fighting against it. Imagine a stream flowing down a mountain. When you drop a heavy rock into it, the water diverts, swirls, and struggles to find its way. But when you remove the rock, the stream returns to its natural flow. You are that stream. Life is always moving toward harmony, toward coherence. The only thing that ever stands in the way is the illusion of separation, the belief that you are apart from the very flow you seek. When you finally see through that illusion, there's nothing left to fix, nothing left to chase. You realize that everything you once tried so hard to create, health, love, abundance, peace, was always available, waiting beneath the surface of your own being. And in that moment, you understand. You don't need to manifest harmony. You don't need to make it happen. You simply need to be what you have always been. From that place, life doesn't just respond to you, it dances with you. Time bends, space opens, people heal, and you begin to live, not as a seeker struggling to find coherence, but as coherence itself, effortlessly expressing through the miracle of your existence. 5. Collective coherence, the ripple that awakens the whole. There is a quiet beauty in the way transformation spreads. It rarely begins with fireworks or loud declarations. It starts with a single human being, one heart, one breath, remembering who they truly are. When even one person awakens to their natural state of coherence, something profound happens. It's as if they send out an invisible signal, a resonance that others can feel, even if they don't fully understand it. It's like dropping a stone into still water and watching the ripples expand outward, touching shores they will never see. I've witnessed this many times, and maybe you have too. You meet someone who carries a deep calm within them, a kind of quiet strength that can't be faked. Just by being in their presence, you begin to feel your own heart slow down. Your own mind becomes clearer. Without words, without trying, they remind you of something ancient, something within you that had been buried under layers of noise. This is the power of coherence at the collective level. It isn't about one person convincing another, or winning an argument, or forcing change. It's about resonance. When one tuning fork vibrates, another nearby begins to vibrate too. The second tuning fork doesn't have to try it, simply responds to the frequency it encounters. Humans work the same way. When you stand firmly rooted in your own coherence, you become like that tuning fork. Others around you begin to remember their own natural rhythm, even if they can't explain why. Imagine what happens when more and more people begin to awaken in this way. The resonance grows stronger. The ripples merge, creating waves that reach farther and farther. This is how collective awakening begins, not through force or revolution, but through countless individual hearts remembering their wholeness. When enough of us remember, the world itself begins to shift. The way we see conflict changes. Where once there were battles to fight and sides to defend, there is now a deeper understanding. Conflict is not something to be solved in the traditional sense. It is a temporary dance of perspectives, a play of consciousness, exploring itself through contrast. From this place, we no longer approach differences with fear or anger. We approach them with curiosity, like watching a play unfold, knowing that beneath the costumes and roles, everyone on stage is made of the same essence. This doesn't mean we ignore pain or injustice. It means we respond from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. We act to heal, not to conquer. We listen to understand, not to divide. And slowly, The walls between us begin to crumble. Separation, which once felt so real and unshakable, is revealed to be nothing more than a mirror, a reflection we needed in order to explore the illusion of being apart. It's like a child playing hide and seek. The thrill of the game comes from believing, for a moment, that they are truly hidden. But eventually, the child giggles and runs back into the open, knowing they were never truly lost. In the same way, humanity has been playing a cosmic game of hide and seek with itself. We've hidden behind identities, beliefs, borders, and fears. We've played out stories of division and conflict so we could experience the drama of forgetting and remembering. And now, more and more of us are ready to laugh softly, step out from our hiding places, and remember that we were never separate at all. Each individual awakening is like a lantern being lit in the dark. At first, it's just a small glow, but as more lanterns are lit, the darkness begins to fade, revealing a world that was always there, waiting to be seen. This is why your own journey matters so much. You may think you're just one person, navigating your own challenges, healing your own wounds, but every moment you spend resting in your natural coherence, you are lighting a lantern that others can see, even if they never know your name. You don't have to preach or persuade. Your very presence becomes a silent invitation for others to remember their own light. I've seen this in relationships, in families, in communities. One person begins to live from a place of wholeness, and suddenly, dynamics shift. Old patterns dissolve. Conversations deepen. Healing ripples outward without a single word being spoken. This is how true change happens. Not through noise, but through presence. Not through control, but through resonance. As this collective field grows stronger, humanity begins to evolve in ways we can barely imagine. The systems built on fear and division begin to lose their grip because they are no longer fed by our energy. New ways of living emerge, ways rooted in cooperation, compassion, and shared purpose. It may sound idealistic, but it's not a fantasy. It is simply the next natural step in our evolution as a species. Just as a caterpillar dissolves in the cocoon before becoming a butterfly, humanity is in a stage of collective transformation. The old structures are falling apart. It's messy, uncomfortable, even frightening at times. But beneath the chaos, something extraordinary is being born. A new way of being human, where coherence isn't a rare gift, but the foundation of our shared reality. Every individual who remembers this truth becomes a milestone on our journey as a whole. Your awakening isn't just for you, it's for everyone. So when you sit quietly and breathe, when you choose love over fear, when you rest in the knowing that you are already whole, you are participating in something far larger than yourself. You are adding your unique note to a universal symphony. You are helping to create a world where we no longer see ourselves as fragments, but as one continuous, vibrant field of life. And one day, when enough of us awaken, we will look back at this time, not as an age of endings, but as the dawn of our collective rebirth. 6. From attraction to alignment. There was a time when I believed, like so many others, that my role in life was to reach out and pull things toward me. I read books about the law of attraction, filled notebooks with intentions, and spent countless hours trying to manifest the life I thought I wanted. It felt empowering at first. The idea that I could attract love, success, health, or abundance through my thoughts and emotions gave me a sense of control in a world that often felt chaotic. But there was a subtle tension beneath it all, one I couldn't quite name. Every act of trying to attract something was built on an unspoken assumption that what I wanted was separate from me, somewhere out there, waiting to be pulled in. And that, no matter how positive my thinking was, left me with a constant whisper of lack. It was like standing on one side of a river, watching what I desired on the opposite shore. and spending my days building elaborate bridges to get to it. Sometimes the bridges worked for a while. I'd experience a small success or a brief moment of alignment, and it felt like magic. But eventually, the river would swell, the bridge would wash away, and I'd find myself back where I started reaching, yearning, grasping. Over time, this reaching became exhausting. I realized that even when I succeeded in attracting what I wanted, there was always something new to chase. The satisfaction never lasted. It was as though I had been running on a treadmill, mistaking movement for progress, never truly arriving anywhere. One day, in a moment of stillness, it hit me. The very idea of attraction was keeping me trapped. By believing I had to pull something in, I was reinforcing the belief that it was separate from me. And then a deeper truth began to emerge. A truth so simple and yet so profound that it changed everything. There is no outside to pull from. You see, at the most fundamental level, there is no boundary between you and the universe. What you call you and what you call life are not two separate entities. They are one seamless field of consciousness, expressing itself in countless forms and experiences. Alignment isn't about pulling something external into your reality. It's about remembering that you and the reality you seek are the same thing. It's like standing in front of a mirror and realizing that you were never trying to get the reflection to smile. You simply had to smile yourself. The reflection wasn't separate. It was you, all along. When this recognition lands, the entire game changes. Instead of struggling to attract what you want, you begin to see that life is always reflecting your inner state, moment by moment. There's nothing to reach for, nothing to grasp. The love you've been seeking, the abundance you've been chasing, the peace you've been longing for, they were never out there. They've always been woven into the very fabric of who you are. The shift from attraction to alignment feels like coming home after a long journey. Attraction is effortful. It's like standing in a crowded marketplace, shouting to get the universe's attention, hoping it hears you and responds. Alignment is quiet. It's the deep knowing that you don't have to call out to life because you are life. When you live from alignment, life begins to flow in a way that feels almost effortless. Opportunities appear without you chasing them. People who resonate with your energy cross your path at the perfect time. Challenges still arise, but they no longer feel like punishments or obstacles. They become part of the unfolding, like waves on the ocean rising, falling, and dissolving back into the whole. I remember a time when I desperately wanted to attract a certain outcome. I visualized it every day, crafted affirmations, and tried to hold my energy high. But the more I pushed, the further away it seemed to slip. One day, in frustration, I gave up. I sat in silence, closed my eyes, and simply allowed myself to be without trying to create or control anything. In that quiet space, I felt something shift. The need to grasp fell away. I began to sense the truth. There was no separate me trying to get something from the universe. There was only the universe, expressing itself through this moment, through this breath, through this body. From that day forward, I stopped trying to attract and began to live from alignment. And almost immediately, life began to unfold in surprising ways. The very outcome I had been struggling for appeared naturally, not because I forced it, but because it was always part of the greater flow. Alignment isn't passive. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means acting from a place of wholeness rather than lack. Your actions become expressions of your truth. Rather than desperate attempts to fill a void, it's like a tree growing toward the sun. The tree doesn't attract sunlight. It simply grows in harmony with the light that was always there, allowing its branches to stretch upward naturally. When you live this way, life stops feeling like a competition or a chase. You no longer see yourself as a small self trying to get something from a vast, indifferent univers. You begin to see yourself as part of a living, breathing whole, the universe experiencing itself through you. And from that place, gratitude flows effortlessly. Not because you got what you wanted, but because you realize you already are everything you've been seeking. The journey from attraction to alignment is really the journey from forgetting to remembering. Forgetting convinces you that you are separate, that you must fight and strive to create harmony. Remembering reveals that harmony was never missing. It was here, within you, all along. When you truly see this, a deep peace arises. You stop clutching at life and begin to trust it. You stop begging the universe to hear you and realize that you are the very voice you've been waiting for. And in that quiet recognition, something extraordinary happens. Life flows through you like a song that has been playing forever, waiting for you to finally hear its melody. There is no pulling, no pushing, no grasping, only the natural dance of existence, moving as one seamless, perfect whole. 7. Signs you are living in coherence. There is a quiet rhythm to life when you are living in coherence, a soft, almost imperceptible harmony that begins to hum beneath everything you do. It's not loud or dramatic. It doesn't need to be. It's like a subtle shift in the background music of your existence, one that you feel more than hear. You don't suddenly wake up one day with a flashing sign telling you, you've arrived. Instead, you begin to notice gentle changes. Things that once felt heavy start to feel lighter. What used to be complicated begins to unfold with simplicity. Life doesn't stop having challenges, but the way you move through those challenges changes entirely. When you are aligned with coherence, there are unmistakable signs, not because you are looking for them, but because they naturally reveal themselves through the way life flows around you. Time becomes fluid. One of the first things you notice is your relationship with time begins to change. Time no longer feels like a rigid cage, something you must race against or fight to control. There are moments when hours seem to pass like minutes when you are completely absorbed in something you love, whether it's creating, connecting, or simply being present. In these moments, time stretches effortlessly, and you find yourself so immersed that you forget to look at the clock. Then there are other moments when you seem to have exactly the time you need. You might be running late, only to discover that traffic flows perfectly, or a meeting is delayed just enough for you to catch up. It's as though life itself rearranges to support you. This doesn't happen because you're manipulating time, but because you've stopped resisting it. When you are in coherence, you flow with time instead of pushing against it. Decisions come from a deep knowing. In the past, you may have agonized over decisions, making lists of pros and cons, second-guessing yourself, replaying scenarios over and over in your mind. But when you are living in coherence, decisions feel different. There's a quiet, steady knowing that rises from within. You don't have to force it or analyze it to death. The answer simply appears, clear and calm, like a reflection on still water. And when you act on this inner knowing, you notice how things tend to unfold smoothly, even when the choice doesn't make logical sense at first. It often leads you exactly where you need to be. It feels almost miraculous, but it's not. It's simply the natural intelligence of life, guiding you through the frequency of your own clarity. Synchronicities multiply when you are in coherence. Life begins to speak to you through synchronicities, those seemingly random events that line up with such precision they leave you in awe. You think of a friend you haven't spoken to in years, and moments later, they call you. You're pondering a question, and the exact answer appears on a page of a book, in a song lyric, or in a stranger's passing comment. These moments are not coincidences. They are reflections of alignment. They show you that you and the universe are dancing together, step for step. The more you notice them, the more they seem to appear, not because you're chasing them, but because your awareness is tuned to the quiet language of the cosmos. Creativity flows effortlessly. Another sign of living in coherence is the way creativity begins to move through you. Instead of struggling to come up with ideas or forcing inspiration, you feel as though ideas are arriving on their own, fully formed, ready to be expressed. It's as if you've become a channel, and something larger than you is flowing through your hands, your voice, your heart. Whether you're solving problems at work, writing, painting, cooking, or simply navigating your day, solutions and inspiration seem to arise naturally. You don't feel like you're the one making it happen. Instead, you feel like a participant in a beautiful dance of creation. Relationships become harmonious. Perhaps one of the most profound signs of coherence is how it affects the people around you. When you are grounded and aligned, others sense it even if they can't explain why. They feel safe in your presence. Walls come down. Conversations open up. Conflicts that once seemed impossible to resolve begin to dissolve on their own. It's not because you're trying to fix anyone. It's because the calm coherence within you creates a space where others can reconnect with their own truth. You become like a tuning fork, and without effort, those around you begin to vibrate at the same harmonious frequency. Well-being expands. Naturally, living in coherence has a profound impact on your health, your energy, and even your sense of abundance. Your body begins to feel lighter, freer. You may notice that you get sick less often, or that healing happens more quickly. This isn't magic. It's your body responding to the removal of stress and resistance. When you are no longer locked in constant inner conflict, energy flows freely through you. Your vitality increases, and so does your ability to meet life with clarity and strength. The same is true for abundance. Money and opportunities stop feeling like things you must chase. They arrive naturally, in perfect timing, because you are no longer blocking the flow with fear and scarcity. Life becomes a dance. When all these signs come together, there's an unmistakable feeling that settles into your life, a sense that you are no longer separate from the unfolding of existence. You stop trying to control every detail because you finally trust the intelligence that is guiding you. Even when challenges arise, you meet them with a softer heart, knowing that they are part of a larger harmony you may not fully see yet. It's not that life becomes perfect. It's that your relationship to life transforms. The ups and downs, the joys and sorrows, all become movements in the same beautiful dance. The quiet gift of recognition. These signs are not goals to strive for or badges of spiritual achievement. They are simply reflections, mirrors, showing you that you are resting in your natural state of coherence. When you see them, smile, acknowledge them with gratitude, but don't cling to them. Remember, coherence isn't something you earn or create. It's who you are when you stop resisting, when you stop pretending to be separate from life. The truest sign of all is an inner peace so steady that you no longer need proof. You simply live, moment by moment, as the living expression of harmony itself. 8. Seeing perfection in every moment. There's a point on this journey where your relationship with life itself begins to transform. At first, it's subtle, almost like a soft whisper beneath the noise of your everyday thoughts. But if you pay attention, you'll notice a shift. The world no longer feels divided into good and bad, right and wrong, gain and loss. For most of our lives, we've been trained to judge our experiences. We label one moment as good and cling to it desperately, praying it lasts forever. We label another as bad and fight against it, doing everything in our power to push it away. This constant tug-of-war becomes exhausting. It keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of chasing pleasure and avoiding pain, of running toward what we want and away from what we fear. I lived like this for many years. Whenever something beautiful happened, love, success, moments of joy, I would grip it tightly, terrified of losing it. And, of course, the more tightly I held on, the quicker it seemed to slip through my fingers. And when pain came, heartbreak, failure, Loss I would resist with all my strength. I would question life, question myself, question everything. The suffering wasn't just in the event itself. It was in my belief that it shouldn't be happening. But there comes a moment, often after you've been broken open by life, when you start to see things differently. You realize that maybe, just maybe, nothing has ever truly been out of place. From the perspective of coherence, every moment is perfect, even when your mind can't understand why. The illusion of imperfection. Think about a single note in a song. If you isolate it and listen to it on its own, it might sound harsh or incomplete. But when you hear it as part of the entire melody, you realize it was essential to the beauty of the music. Our lives are like that. When you zoom in on one painful moment, it can feel unbearable, unfair, meaningless. But when you step back and see the larger symphony of your life, you begin to understand how that note was never a mistake. Even the hardest moments are part of the harmony. The mind struggles with this because the mind thrives on control. It wants to categorize, to decide what should and shouldn't happen. It wants to edit the song while it's still being played. But life isn't a draft to be rewritten. It is a living, breathing masterpiece unfolding in real time. When you stop resisting, seeing the perfection in every moment doesn't mean you suddenly enjoy pain or pretend that suffering feels good. It simply means you stop fighting what is brooders. There's a kind of deep peace that comes when you realize you don't need to control every detail of your life. You don't need to micromanage the universe. When you stop resisting, you open yourself to the possibility that life knows what it's doing even when you don't. I remember a time when everything in my world seemed to collapse at once. I lost a relationship I thought would last forever. I faced financial struggles that kept me awake at night, and I felt completely adrift, like a ship with no anchor. At the time, I couldn't see anything but chaos. But looking back now, I can see how those experiences were clearing space for something far greater to emerge. The pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was life realigning me with my true self, even though I couldn't see it in the moment. Had I gotten what I thought I wanted back then, I would have stayed small, safe, and asleep. The very things I once cursed turned out to be blessings in disguise. Finding freedom in surrender. When you begin to trust the timing and intelligence of life, a weight lifts from your shoulders. You no longer carry the burden of controlling everything. Imagine trying to steer a river with your bare hands. No matter how hard you try, you can't make the water flow where you want it to go. But if you stop thrashing and allow yourself to float, you'll discover that the river was always carrying you exactly where you needed to be. That's what surrender feels like. It's not giving up. It's giving in to the deeper current that has been guiding you all along. When you see perfection in both joy and pain, you no longer need to grip tightly to the good or run from the bad. You can meet each moment as it comes, knowing it belongs, living without judgment. From this place of coherence, your heart softens. You begin to see others differently. 2. The person who hurt you is no longer just an enemy. They become a teacher, a mirror, reflecting something you needed to see. The challenge you face isn't just an obstacle. It becomes a doorway to a deeper strength within you. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior or ignore your boundaries. It simply means you see beyond the surface, beyond the labels of good and bad. You start to recognize the interconnectedness of it all. When you truly live this way, even the most ordinary moments feel sacred. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of laughter, even the ache of grief, they all reveal themselves as parts of the same whole. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. The universe never misses a beat. There's a line I return to again and again in my own life. The universe never misses a beat. It helps me remember that even when I feel lost, even when everything seems to fall apart, there is a rhythm beneath it all. A perfect timing I may not yet understand. Like a dancer who momentarily stumbles but never leaves the dance floor. Life keeps moving, weaving every step into the choreography of something far greater than we can imagine. When you trust this, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this moment inviting me to see?" You begin to live with an open heart, ready to embrace both the sweetness and the sorrow. And in that openness, you discover a profound truth. The perfection you've been searching for was never about creating a flawless life. It was about seeing the flawless design that has been here all along. Every tear, every laugh, every breath, part of the same divine rhythm, part of the same coherent whole. When you truly see this, you no longer feel like a victim of life. You become a witness to its beauty, a participant in its unfolding. And in that moment of recognition, you realize you don't need to control the dance. You only need to keep moving, one step at a time, trusting the music that has never stopped playing. 9. The rise of collective awareness. There's a moment in every awakening when you realize something profound. This journey isn't just about you. It's never been about you alone. At first, the path of healing and self-discovery feels personal. You meditate, you question old beliefs, you face your shadows, and you start to unravel the stories that once defined you. It's intimate and deeply individual, like tending to a hidden garden that no one else can see. But then, as your awareness expands, a quiet truth begins to dawn. You are not separate from the whole. Your transformation is not contained within the boundaries of your skin or your mind. It ripples outward, touching people and places you may never know. Every shift you make inside yourself, every moment of clarity, every act of forgiveness, every breath taken in presence sends subtle waves into the greater field of consciousness. It's like dropping a pebble into an ocean. At first, it seems small, insignificant, but the ripples spread farther and farther, merging with others, creating patterns and currents that eventually reshape the entire sea. The power of a single awakening. We often underestimate the power of a single individual who is fully awake. It's easy to think, "I'm just one person. How much difference can I really make?" But the truth is, your inner coherence is never just yours. When you remember who you are, you naturally invite others to remember as well, not through words or preaching, but through presence. Think of a tuning fork. When one begins to vibrate, another nearby begins to resonate at the same frequency. It doesn't have to try. It simply responds. Humans work the same way. When you are deeply aligned, you become like that tuning fork. Your very being becomes an invitation for others to rise to their natural harmony. This is why the work you do within yourself matters more than you realize. It's never just about you feeling better or finding peace. It's about contributing to the awakening of the whole, the ocean and the waves. I often return to the image of the ocean and its waves. Each wave rises and falls, appearing separate for a time. Some are small and gentle, others vast and powerful. But beneath the surface, they are all made of the same water, moved by the same unseen forces. Your individual awareness is like a single wave. It may seem small in the vastness of life, but it is connected to every other wave, part of the same infinite ocean of consciousness. When one wave rises, it influences the waves around it. When enough waves rise together, they create a tide, a powerful movement that can reshape entire shorelines. This is how collective transformation happens, not through sudden, dramatic events forced by external systems, but through countless individual awakenings, merging into a global shift. The emerging civilization. We are living in a remarkable time. On the surface, it may look chaotic. Old structures are collapsing. Systems built on fear, control, and separation are unraveling before our eyes. It can feel frightening, like watching a familiar world crumble, but beneath the chaos, something extraordinary is emerging. Just as a forest fire clears away the old to make room for new growth, humanity is moving through a collective purification. The ashes of outdated ways of living are making space for something new, a civilization rooted not in domination or division, but in coherence. In this new way of being, our relationships are no longer built on competition or control. They are grounded in mutual recognition, the understanding that we are reflections of one another, parts of a unified whole. Creativity flourishes in this space. When people are no longer weighed down by fear or scarcity, their natural genius rises to the surface. Innovation becomes effortless, not because we are pushing for progress, but because we are allowing life to express itself freely through us. This is the world we are moving toward, even if we can't fully see it yet. Your role in the greater whole. You may wonder where you fit into this vast process. The answer is beautifully simple. Your role is to awaken within yourself and live from that awakened state as best you can. You don't need to fix the world single-handedly. You don't need to convince others to change. You only need to tend to your own inner coherence, knowing that in doing so, you are contributing to the collective field. Every time you choose presence over distraction, you strengthen the signal of awareness in the world. Every time you meet conflict with compassion instead of reactivity, you ripple peace into the collective. Every time you forgive yourself or another, you dissolve a thread of separation in the shared fabric of humanity. These actions may seem small, but they are not. The ocean would not exist without its waves. The dawn of collective coherence. Imagine a world where coherence becomes the foundation of everything, where families, communities, and nations are guided not by fear, but by alignment with the deeper intelligence of life. In such a world, conflict doesn't disappear, but it transforms. Disagreements are no longer battles to be won, but opportunities to deepen understanding. Diversity is no longer a threat, but a celebration of the infinite ways the one consciousness expresses itself. We are not there yet, but every awakening brings us closer. Each person who remembers their true nature adds light to the collective, like stars gradually appearing in a dark night sky. One star may seem small against the vastness, but together, they form constellations that guide entire civilizations. A quiet revolution. The rise of collective awareness is not loud or violent. It's a quiet revolution, taking place in hearts and minds across the planet. It doesn't make headlines, but it changes everything. You may never see the full impact of your own awakening. The people you touch may go on to touch others, creating ripples that travel far beyond what you can imagine. And one day, perhaps long after we are gone, humanity will look back at this moment as the turning point, the time when we began to remember that we are not separate, but one fast, coherent whole, the gift of now. This future isn't waiting somewhere far away. It begins here, now, with you. Every breath you take in awareness, every act of kindness, every moment of stillness in the midst of chaos. These are the building blocks of the world to come. You don't need to see the entire ocean to trust the tide. You only need to take your place as a wave, rising in harmony with all the others. And as you do, you'll discover something both humbling and exhilarating. Your personal awakening is also the awakening of the whole. The tide is already turning. The new civilization is already being born. And you, simply by being here, simply by remembering, are part of that miracle. The eternal remembering. There comes a moment, often after you've been through the storms, the dark nights, the endless questions, when you finally sit in stillness and realize there was never anywhere to go. We spend so much of our lives chasing harmony, peace, fulfillment, believing they exist somewhere out there, just beyond our reach. We build plans, create visions, and push ourselves forward, thinking that if we work hard enough, meditate long enough, or heal deeply enough, we will finally arrive. But the truth is, Both simpler and far more profound coherence has never been a destination. It is not something to be earned or achieved. It is what you have always been, from the very beginning. Like the sky that remains vast and untouched, even when covered by clouds, your essence has been here all along, silent, whole, unbroken. The clouds of fear, pain, and confusion may have obscured it, but they could never destroy it. When you understand this, a deep tenderness arises. You begin to see that all your struggles, all the moments you thought were failures, were never evidence of something wrong with you. They were part of a much larger dance, the cosmic game of forgetting and remembering, the game of forgetting and remembering life. In its infinite wisdom, hides your own truth from you for a time. It allows you to experience the illusion of separation, so you can fully taste what it means to come home again. Like a child playing hide and seek, you run through the maze of this world, convinced you are lost. You stumble, you fall. If you cry out in fear, and then, one day, you laugh a deep, knowing laugh, because you realize you were never truly lost at all. The hiding was never a mistake. It was part of the game, part of the journey. When you see this clearly, even the moments of deep pain and confusion take on a new meaning. They become necessary chapters in the story of awakening. That heartbreak you thought would destroy you, it was the crack through which love poured in. That loss that left you on your knees, it was the doorway to a deeper freedom you couldn't have found any other way. The universe has never been punishing you. It has only been guiding you, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely, back to the truth of who you are, the perfect expression of the whole. From this perspective, every experience becomes sacred. The bitter and the sweet, the peaks and the valleys, the silence and the noise, all of it is the universe expressing itself through you. As you, when you no longer judge your life as a series of successes and failures, a strange and beautiful peace emerges. You begin to see that nothing was ever wasted. Every tear, every laugh, every breath has been part of a perfect, mysterious unfolding. And in that seeing, you stop fighting reality. You stop trying to rearrange the pieces of your life to fit some image of how it should be. There is nothing left to fix, nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove. Only the simple, profound joy of being here. Now, exactly as you are. The joy of simply being. When the seeking falls away, you begin to live in a new way. You are no longer a traveler on a desperate quest for harmony. You are harmony itself, moving through the world in human form. This doesn't mean you stop engaging with life. On the contrary, you engage more fully than ever before, but from a place of deep freedom rather than fear. You love without clinging. You act without forcing. You create without striving. It's like becoming the dance instead of the dancer, the song instead of the singer. Life flows through you effortlessly, and you simply allow it, marveling at the mystery of it all. Even challenges no longer feel like enemies. They are seen as waves in the ocean, rising, falling, dissolving, all part of the same water. You don't need to control the waves. You only need to remember that you are the ocean. The final realization. In the end, there is no finish line to cross, no final prize to claim. There is only the ongoing process, eternal process of remembering and forgetting, expansion and return. And in this infinite cycle, you begin to see the most profound truth of all. You are not the seeker. You are what has always been sought. The harmony you've been longing for is not outside you. It is the very fabric of your being. There is no separate you trying to connect with a distant universe. There is only the universe, knowing itself through you, breathing through you, living through you. When you fully embrace this, the chase ends. The struggle dissolves. What remains is a quiet joy, a profound gratitude for simply existing. You no longer need to ask, "Am I enough?" You know, without doubt, that you are everything and everything is you. A whisper from the universe. If there were words the universe could speak through you right now, perhaps they would be these. You were never lost. You were never broken. Every moment of your life has been me, meeting myself through you. Stop searching. My dear, you have always been home, remembering who you are. So, as you walk forward from here, remember this. You are not here to become something greater or more perfect. You are here to remember what you already are. Let the past be what it was, a beautiful, messy, necessary part of your awakening. Let the future be what it will be, a mystery unfolding in perfect timing. And let this moment, right here, right now, be enough. Because in this moment, you are whole, you are complete, you are harmony itself. You are not the one seeking coherence. You are the coherence the universe has always known through you. Top of form, bottom of form,